The NFL coaching carousel never really stops spinning, does it? And this year, the Jacksonville Jaguars find themselves right in the middle of it, searching for a new head coach, one who can finally get their offense firing on all cylinders. But it looks like their top choice might not have been so interested. If you're as fascinated by this story as we are, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more insights just like this one.
It's definitely a crucial moment for the Jags. Liam Coen, Tampa Bay's offensive coordinator, seemed like a lock for the job, but then he went and signed that huge extension to stay put.
Yeah, I have to admit, I was a little surprised by that. Why we pass on a head coaching gig?
Well, stability is a big thing, especially in a league where coaches are hired and fired so quickly. Plus, that Bucs contract is probably pretty sweet. Staying in Tampa keeps him working with Baker Mayfield, and maybe he thinks this is a better path to long-term success.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So now the Jags are kind of back to square one. What's next for them?
They're going to have to go back to their list of candidates. And there's one name that's getting a lot of buzz now, Joe Brady. You might remember he was on their radar initially, and what he's done with the Bills has really put him back in the conversation.
Brady's story is pretty interesting, right? He didn't exactly set the world on fire when he was with the Panthers, but with Buffalo, he seems to have really found his footing.
That's right. Took over a Bills offense that lost some serious firepower, Stefon Diggs and Gabe Davis, and yet they still had a really strong season offensively.
Pretty impressive, right?
Yeah.
Considering how much that offense relied on those receivers, what did Brady do differently to make that happen?
He was adaptable, that's for sure. Went with a more balanced attack, leaned heavily on the run game, and, used a lot of quick short passes to make up for not having those deep threats. Plus, he did a fantastic job bringing those younger receivers along, figuring out how to use their strengths and getting them comfortable in the system.
So basically, he adjusted his scheme to fit the players he had. Smart. That's got to make him a pretty attractive option for the Jags, especially when you think about their quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. He's still young and developing.
You hit the nail on the head. The Jags need someone who can build an offense around Lawrence. And, Brady's shown he can adapt and he can be creative. Sounds like a pretty good fit on paper.
But there's a catch, right?
There is. The Bills are still in the playoffs, so the Jags can't even talk to Brady officially until their season's over.
So they've got to play the waiting game. Now that puts them in a tricky spot. Do they risk it and wait for Brady, hoping he'll still be available? Or do they cut their losses and move on to someone else?
It's a tough call. Waiting for Brady means they might miss out on other good coaching candidates who will be snapped up by other teams. But if they move on too quickly, they might just pass on the guy who's the perfect fit for their team.
This is where things get really interesting. It's not just about X's and O's. It's about finding the right leader for the whole organization.
100%. The Jaguars need a coach who can not only help Lawrence grow, but also, build a winning culture. Get everyone on the same page. This coaching search is about a lot more than just plays. It's about the future of the franchise. This whole situation with the Jags really highlights something we're seeing more and more in the NFL. Offense is king.
Absolutely, these days.
Yeah.
You need a high-powered offense if you want to compete for a championship.
Right. Look at the teams that have won the Super Bowl lately. They've all had one thing in common. Explosive offenses. Quarterbacks are putting up crazy numbers.
And that's why a guy like Joe Brady is so in demand. He's part of this new generation of offensive coaches, guys who aren't afraid to take risks, try new things, really push the envelope.
Exactly what he did in Buffalo. He didn't inherit some offensive juggernaut. He took what they had, made it even better. Josh Allen had all the physical tools, but he was still a little raw. Brady helped him become a more well-rounded quarterback, more efficient, more dangerous.
Yeah, he really seemed to understand how to use Allen's strengths and, minimize his weaknesses. That kind of strategic thinking is what separates the good coaches from the great ones.
No doubt. And that's what makes this decision so important for the Jaguars. They have a quarterback in Trevor Lawrence who has the potential to be special, but they need the right coach to unlock that potential.
It's like having a Ferrari, but no one who knows how to drive it. You're not going to get very far.
That's a great analogy. The Jags need someone who can get behind the wheel and, really put the pedal to the metal with Lawrence.
But there's always some risk involved, right? Especially with a coach like Brady. He's had some great success, but he's also had some setbacks early in his career.
That's the gamble the Jags have to weigh. Do they go with a veteran coach, someone who's been there, done that? Or do they take a chance on a rising star like Brady, knowing there could be some bumps along the way?
And the clock is ticking. Free agency's coming up. Then the draft. The Jaguars need to have their coach in place to make those decisions.
Exactly. Those events are crucial for building a team. The coaching hire sets the tone for everything else.
This isn't just about filling a vacancy. It's about setting a direction for the whole franchise. Building a culture, an identity, a way of playing the game.
Couldn't have said it better myself. This coaching search, it's a fascinating look behind the curtain. You see all the strategy, the philosophy, the high-pressure decisions that can make or break a team.
It's like a chess match. Every move matters. Every decision has consequences. And the Jaguars are in a really interesting position, trying to figure out which move will lead them to the ultimate prize, a Super Bowl. So it really comes down to this. The Jaguars need to find that coach who can not only jumpstart their offense, but also get Trevor Lawrence playing at the the level we all know he can.
Yeah, it's a tall order.
Yeah.
They need someone who can help Lawrence build some confidence after a couple of tough seasons, Someone who can design a system that plays to his strengths and helps him overcome those weaknesses.
And all of this is happening in a league that's changing so quickly. Offensively, you got to be on the cutting edge if you want to stay competitive. It's almost like trying to hit a moving target.
That's a great way to put it. The Jaguars can't just copy what other teams are doing. They need to find their own path, build an offense that's unique to them.
Which brings us back to that big question. Are they going to take a chance on Joe Brady or play it safe and go with a more experienced coach?
It's a decision that's going to have a huge impact on the franchise, for years to come. It's a bet on a certain offensive philosophy, a bet on a certain type of leader, a bet on the future of the Jaguars.
It just goes to show you how important offensive coaching has become in today's NFL. Teams are desperate for that offensive edge, that spark that can put points on the board and keep them in contention.
It's not enough to just have a good defense or a solid running game anymore. You need an offense that can put up points in bunches, keep up with these high-powered offenses we're seeing all over the league.
And that's what makes this coaching search so interesting. It's a glimpse into how the game is evolving, how teams are adapting and trying to stay ahead of the curve.
And as the game keeps changing, we're probably going to see even more emphasis on finding these offensive gurus, coaches who can not only design plays and adjust to different situations, but also inspire their players, get them to play at their best.
So where do the Jaguars go from here? What does this mean for the future of offensive coaching in the NFL? These are just some of the questions we'll continue to explore. But for now, that's going to do it for this deep dive. If you enjoyed this conversation and want to hear more like it, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more great content.